G'day YouTube, Warbles on a lot here. We're coming up to the 5 o'clock news, followed by PM, and I'm sure at some stage they're going to mention this business of Campbell Newman, the human hemorrhoid, and Jeff Blaney's Attorney General with their draconian anti-motorcyclist laws, so let's just see what we get, eh?
Welcome to PM, I'm Peter Lloyd. Among our stories tonight, Queenslanders get another draconian law. The state's Attorney General is bypassing courts to give himself power to keep some convicted criminals in jail until they die. And a mad cow worry twice as many people as previously thought may be carrying the infectious agent responsible for the human form of the disease.
Well, that explains it all. Queensland's politicians are infected with fucking mad cow virus and their brains have turned into spongiform bovine encephalopathy.
Under attack in the name of law and order crackdowns. The Attorney General wants the power to personally determine whether some sex offenders remain behind bars indefinitely. It's taking for the executive power normally separately held by the judiciary, and it's raising the hackles of lawyers and rights campaigners. To them, it is another attack on the fundamentals of a democratic state. And it comes just one day after tough new anti-bikie laws were rushed through the Parliament without the usual reviews. Stephanie Smale reports.
Queensland's Attorney General Jared Blay is amending legislation from 1945. It will allow him to recommend that serious violent offenders be kept in jail indefinitely.
Some of these people just can't be rehabilitated, and they ought not be put out into our communities, and they should spend the rest of their life in jail. Let me make it absolutely clear. The worst of the worst child sex offenders and rapists should be never released from prison.
Mr Blay says the government will be able to bypass the courts and cases will be reviewed annually by 2 psychiatrists.
We are the legislators. If people have got a problem with the laws in the state, then they ought to blame the politicians, not the judges, because we are the legislators. That's why we've taken a strong stance in the last 18 months and said, we're the legislators, we're going to take control, we're going to take the reins here of these types of law reform, and that's why we're introducing these tough measures.
The move follows the public outcry over a recent court decision to release notorious sex offender Robert John Farden from indefinite detention. He was returned to jail when Mr Blay lodged an appeal. It's the Queensland government's second major law and order crackdown this week. Early this morning, anti-bikie laws were passed in state parliament. Under the laws, motorcycle club members convicted of a crime will face mandatory sentences of up to 25 years, be locked in a bikies-only prison and only let out of their cell for 1 hour a day. Lawyers are describing the measures as an extraordinary attack on Queensland's separation of powers. Peter Callaghan is the president of the Law and Justice Institute of Queensland.
In civilised countries, it is a judge that decides whether an individual's liberty is curtailed, not a politician. As I understand this legislation, it is going to be the governor, on advice from the minister, who decides whether an individual's liberty is curtailed. That is unlike anything we've ever seen.
Annette Bradfield from the Queensland Law Society argues Jared Blay is making himself judge, jury and executioner.
The separation of powers means the government makes the laws and the courts interpret them. Are we going back to the days of Queensland being a colony and detention being at the governor's pleasure?
Peter Callaghan describes the Queensland government's law and order agenda as unprecedented.
You won't see these laws in any state with an upper house. You won't see them in jurisdictions like Victoria or the ACT, which have human rights legislations. We are dangling far out to the right, and it's not a very comfortable place to be.
The Queensland Premier, Campbell Newman, says the state government doesn't have a choice and the laws will only be used as a last resort.
I cannot do anything else but agree with their philosophical point. However, we're about protecting the Queensland community and protecting our kids, and reluctantly, therefore, we're going to go forward with this piece of legislation. And I really stress that. It is very much with a feeling of reluctance, and I'm not enthusiastic about it, but this has really been a situation that's ultimately been forced on the government because it's been forced on the community.
Peter Callaghan is urging the state government to revisit its approach to law and order policy.
Listen to contrary points of view. Have a debate. Consult. Just take on board the possibility that you might be wrong about some of these things. The experience yesterday was really quite extraordinary, where everyone, including the opposition, was kept in dark about this legislation until the last minute, and then it goes through in one session. It is extraordinary that can happen in a democracy.
That's Peter Callaghan from the Law and Justice Institute of Queensland, ending Stephanie Smale's report. To Canberra now.
There you go. You'd like a biscuit, wouldn't you, Charlie? Well, you stay there. I'll get you a biscuit. Oh, Charlie, you've gone out of camera range. That's not fair. You were supposed to go back up there. And while the camera was running, you were supposed... Come on. There you go. You might have just seen Charlie fly away. Okay, well, as I promised, the Queensland anti-bikie laws got a mention. Mandatory 15 to 25 years of extra jail time for any member of the 26 motorcycle gangs which have been outlawed. Because Campbell Newman has been bushwhacked, ambushed, captured mentally by the Police Association, the Police Union of Queensland. Now, there's a whole bunch of people who would say that Queensland police are corrupt. What seems to be going on is empire building. There's a whole lot of police officers with nothing to do. They can't be bothered going out and dealing with the suburban domestic violence. They want to do something heroic. Like, let's have a war with the bikies. Let's demonise bikies. And while we're at it, let's just build a special solitary confinement prison only for bikies, and if we catch them for anything which carries a jail sentence, then not only do they get the jail sentence for the crime they've done, we'll give them an extra 15 to 25 years mandatory in the special solitary confinement bikies prison. And then anybody who's deemed to be a danger to society, we won't ever let them out again. And we're going to have a completely slave-based economy, I guess. Well, thank you, Creator, for getting my father's grandfather to come and settle here south of the border with Queensland. Because, quite honestly, I would absolutely bloody hate to live in Queensland. I would hate to think that I lived anywhere where the Labor Party voted with the Liberal Nazi Party to pass this fucking legislation. These laws passed with bipartisan support. So, if 34% of Australians voted for the Labor Party and 40-something% voted for the Liberal Party, and the National Party's in there as well, and Queensland is the extreme outside edge, the only reason the rest of Australia is not being mismanaged in such a fashion is because the rest of Australia, we have a House of Review, we have the House of Representatives, and we have the Senate. Well, Queensland doesn't have that, because I think it was back under Joh Bjelke-Petersen, but it might have been some other Liberal National Coalition. They decided that a House of Representatives was all you needed. There's no need to have an upper house. There's no need to have any separately elected body to review the legislation that's passed by the House of Representatives. So Queensland has no House of Review. If you've been voted in by a majority, then you can do whatever you fucking want to do. And this Jeff Blaine, or whatever his name is, one of my subscribers tells me that this fella looks like he's about 30 years old. Well, if so, he's never read any history in his 30 years. He's a fucking idiot. Campbell Newman, the human hemorrhoid, is apparently completely ignorant of human history and political history. You know, like there's some fucking smart-ass phrase in Latin that translates as "who guards the guardians?" And Campbell Newman has been completely captured by the mindset of the unguarded guardians. Empire-building pink pigs in blue suits. People who think it's okay for them to dress up in their finery with their parrot patches denoting bravery and run around with fucking weapons of personal destruction. Tasers kill people, capsicane kills people, Glocks kill people, batons kill people. So your cop's got the capsicane and taser and the Glock and yeah, all these different ways of killing people. And they're still fucking scared of people on a motorcycle. It's pathetic. It is pathetic. And the poor bloody bikies in Queensland, there they are stuck with the idea of, oh, well, maybe the Federal Attorney General will notice that these laws in Queensland are against the Human Rights Convention. Excuse me, fellas, but Canberra's been captured by Tony, the Mad Monk Abbott, you know, the budgie smuggler. The bloke who probably would never have been able to get into the Imperial Japanese Army or Navy because they used to have a dress code. Really, they did. They had a dress code that told you which leg of your trousers your penis had to be put down. So, you know, Navy dressed left and Army dressed right. And Tony Abbott, the tiny little dick budgie smuggler, goes out there in public showing that he's got such a twiddly little prong that he couldn't fucking join the Navy or the Army because his hangs central. So you think little dick Tony Abbott is going to tell Campbell Newman, the human hemorrhoid, that his laws are unconstitutional because they breach the Human Rights Convention? Little dick Tony Abbott doesn't give a flying fuck about the Human Rights Convention. Little dick Tony Abbott wants to lead us back into 1950. Fucking look out, or he'll try and buy himself a squadron of P-51 Mustangs and station them in Japan because that's what Australia had in 1950. He's ready to fight the Korean War all over again. He's a fucking idiot. And everybody who voted for him is a fucking idiot, and everybody who voted for the Liberal Nazi Party is a fucking idiot. And it gives me the shits to have to share the same island incontinent of Abbotonia with you, but there's nothing I can do about it except rant on YouTube, so that's what I'm doing. And in the fullness of the time, when Tony Abbott's climate science's crap-type global warming consequences descend out of the pipeline and splatter all over his fucking head, I intend to sit here and laugh. Warbles on a lot to YouTube. We live in interesting times. Ciao.